The paddock lights dim, the roar of engines still echoing, and in the moment when victory feels tangible, a few words from Max Verstappen crack like thunder. "We probably need a little bit of luck on one round to create a bigger offset," he says, his voice calm but loaded. With 4 races remaining in the 2025 season and a gap of 36 points to bridge, those words feel like a challenge, a dare, even a confession. This isn't just about lap times or strategy. It's about momentum. It's about shifting alliances and hidden tensions. Because while Verstappen talks of reaching for luck, the spotlight also falls on the rising stars of McLaren, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, and what their surge means for the reigning champion. Let's rewind. Norris wins in Mexico. He snatches the lead in the standings for the first time in 6 months. Piastri sits right behind him. Verstappen, in third, has clawed his way back from a 40-point deficit. And yet, despite being a 5-time world champion in waiting, he admits the fight is far from straightforward. "I need to score a lot more points every single weekend, which is not that straightforward," he says. "It's raw. The margins are thin. And every turn, every tire compound, every moment of grip or slip could flip the battle. But what happens off track might matter even more." Enter Jos Verstappen, Max's father, and his sharp comments about Piastri. "If I were him, I'd bang my fist on the table," Jos says, pointing to rumours swirling around McLaren's internal dynamics, suggesting Piastri is being sidelined in favour of Norris. Now the Jarno-style flicker of doubt appears. Piastri responds, composed, measured. "I think for me, we're always very open with each other. We can stand up for ourselves, and I feel very comfortable doing that." He insists he doesn't feel like the underdog in his own team, that the idea McLaren favours one driver is not the case. But why does this matter so much? Because when one driver speaks of luck, another of dominance, and another of internal conflict, we see fractures. We see the human drama behind the helmets. Take Norris. He says, quite plainly, leading the 2025 championship doesn't mean anything for the time being. Nothing's completed, nothing's done. He knows he's in the right place, but the pressure is growing. The dream of being world champion is alive, but fraught. And here's the twist. While Norris talks of consistency and rhythm, it's also just consistency. That's actually the thing that's given me the biggest boost over the last few weeks. Piastri speaks of learning curves, of tyres behaving differently, of circuits where the car didn't align with his style. When you look at the tyre usage, things have been a little bit different, he confesses. So where does that leave us? In a tri-fight, Verstappen chasing with a mix of aggression and realism. For me, there's no pressure. I still know that I drove a really good season. Norris riding momentum, cautious but confident. Piastri battling both the car and the whispers. And McLaren trying to manage 2 drivers when only 1 crown can be claimed. Picture this. The lights go out at Interlagos. 4 Saturdays remain. Verstappen in the rear view, biting at the heels. Norris ahead, methodical, hungry. Piastri beside him, cool but fighting inner turmoil. Outside the cockpit, strategy rooms hum. Tyre engineers talk of low grip regimes, slidings, sweet spots. Once you have enough feel for what the car is doing, you are prepared to lean on it a little more, team boss Andrea Stella said of Norris's edge. And what about Jos's comment? Is it a toxic whisper? A father's blunt truth? A calculated shot? He says, something's changed very quickly for Piastri's reputation. At its core, this battle isn't just lap times. It's psychology, status. Who gets the backing? Who stands up for themselves? And who cracks under the pressure of a team's 2-pronged attack? Because when you're in a car that handles differently, when tyres slide in a way you've never felt before, you either adapt or you wait. Piastri chose adapt. I've just been trying to understand more of what I need to shift to, and how that feels has been the biggest learning curve. Meanwhile, Norris just drives, dominates when he can, isn't distracted by titles yet. It's nice to still prove to myself every now and then what I'm capable of. So when Verstappen says he'll need luck, maybe he's speaking more broadly, about luck with the car, luck with strategy, luck with his rival's misfortunes. Because his machine, he admits, hasn't been the fastest car for most of the campaign. He's chasing not just points, but the improbable. And in chasing that, he might stir something bigger. How McLaren handles this rivalry, how Piastri responds, how Norris capitalizes. There's tension here. It's quiet, subtle, but electric. The fight is no longer simply between drivers, it's between mindsets, between team dynamics, between history and ambition. We're watching not just a title run-in, but the making or breaking of legacies. And what if forgiveness comes? What if luck appears? What if one race flips everything? Because as Max knows, worst case we have P3, and best case you can win a championship. But what if it's not luck Max Verstappen really needs? What if it's disruption? Because while McLaren insists their two drivers are being treated equally, the cracks in that mirror are starting to reflect something else. Something McLaren would rather keep buried. Jos Verstappen didn't just make a random comment. He lit a match. Piastri can't have suddenly forgotten how to drive, right? He said. A rhetorical question laced with accusation. Everyone assumed he was going to be champion, and that perception has changed very quickly. And that, right there, is the pressure point. Oscar Piastri, the former leader of the championship, now looks like a driver playing catch-up in a team that might already have chosen its golden boy. He denies it. Firmly. That's not the case, he said when asked if McLaren was favouring Norris. I feel very comfortable standing up for myself. And he doubled down, saying that both he and McLaren encourage being open, pushing for fairness. But still, does that openness matter when Lando Norris is peaking at exactly the right time? Let's not forget, Norris didn't just win Mexico, he obliterated the field. Pole position, 30-second gap, total domination. When I have a weekend like that, he said, I prove to myself that I can go out and dominate. There's no fear in his voice, no hesitation, just momentum. And in a title fight this close, belief is everything. Meanwhile, Piastri is learning, adapting, trying to understand the grip levels, the tyre behaviours, the way the car dances differently on low-grip tracks. It's just been in some circuits maybe a corner or two where you need to adapt. But the last couple of weekends, it's been all the time, he admitted. Every answer from Piastri carries the undertone of a man working harder just to stay in the fight. So, while Verstappen says, there's no pressure, Piastri is feeling every ounce of it. Not from McLaren perhaps, but from the weight of expectation, from the eyes watching, from the ghost of his earlier dominance slipping through his fingers. And still, Max remains in the shadows, closing in. He said it himself. Even if I don't win it, I still know that I drove a really good season. That sounds like acceptance. But then he added, to still be talking about being in this fight I think is already remarkable. The team never gave up, and that's a strength. This is not the Max of 2023 bulldozing everyone. This is the Max who's had to fight, to claw back 104 points, to watch as his team fumbled and rivals rose, and yet, he's still here. What does that tell you? It tells you the battle isn't just about who's fastest, it's about who can suffer the most and still deliver. And that makes the next race, and the next, and the next, all potential flashpoints. Every qualifying lap, every radio call, every team strategy will now be examined with forensic intensity. Because one bad pit call could shift the title. One defensive move from a teammate might be read as sabotage. One smile in the garage might look like favoritism. And that's exactly what Jos Verstappen is hinting at, without ever needing to say it. McLaren team boss Andrea Stella tried to bring calm to the chaos. He explained why Norris might be quicker. In this regime, you have to drive the car in a way that adapts to the fact that the car slides a lot. And this is not necessarily the way Oscar feels naturally, it's scientific, logical. But even science sounds suspicious when the stakes are this high. because McLaren is now trying to guide 2 title challengers to the finish line, but only one will come out on top. And Zak Brown, McLaren's CEO, knows this is dangerous territory. "We're racers," he said. "We're going to race each other hard, and our 2 drivers are going to shake hands, and hopefully, we finish first and second." Hopefully. But how often does hope survive in Formula 1? The brutal truth is, this team could implode. And if Verstappen's words, his very precise, very surgical statements, have done anything, they've turned the lens on McLaren's internal war. It's quiet, but it's growing. Piastri says he wants to win on my own merit. But what if that's no longer enough? What if merit needs to be backed by power, politics, and presence? And here's the kicker. If Verstappen somehow wins this championship against all odds with a slower car and fewer points, what does that say about McLaren, about their drivers, about their management? It would mean that in the year McLaren had the chance to claim everything, they couldn't handle their own success. So the real question is, who cracks first? Norris, who finally has the lead but now faces Max breathing down his neck? Piastri, who must either silence his critics or prove them right? Or Verstappen, with nothing to lose and a legacy to protect? One thing is certain, the fight isn't over, not even close. The silence before Brazil is deceptive, because behind those closed garage doors, strategy meetings are turning into war rooms, and if you think this is about racing, you haven't been paying attention. Let us know below, is Max Verstappen playing mind games, or is he exposing something deeper inside McLaren? And has Oscar Piastri already lost the title fight without even knowing it? Something's coming, and when it hits, the sport might never look the same again.